And welcome everybody to tonight's Make Holiday Swags event. Mark Pinto here at Phoenixville Public Library. And a thank you again to the sponsors of our Community Gardening Around the Village series, and there are many of them. Penn State, Phoenixville Communities That Care, Phoenixville Recreation, Camp Hill, Kimberton Hills, Phoenixville Hospital, Phoenixville Area Transition, Papa, Steeltown Village, and the Chester County Food Bank. So welcome everyone. Hope you got your supplies ready, and we'll turn things over to our presenter, Toni Stuetz. Toni, take it away.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark. Good evening, everybody. I'm so excited to have so many of you here. Thank you for joining our series. And we'll talk a little bit more. We do have another one coming up in January. This has been part of our series brought to you by the Phoenixville Community Gardening Around the Village. I am Toni Stuetz. I'm a 4-H educator in Chester County. I work for Penn State University and I work with a cooperative extension program. I have a couple really quick slides. I'm going to do it really quick because then we're going to actually make our swags. I want to spend the time on the swags. But for those of you that aren't familiar with Penn State Extension, we are just part of Penn State University. We're an outreach program and we really strive to serve the community and people across the Commonwealth. I work with the 4-H program. 4-H is our youth development component. And so it's really about bringing young people together, learning life skills, leadership, citizenship. We do it in a variety of ways through our club program, as well as special interest programs like this, in-school programs, after-school programs. So we're excited to have everybody here for what we advertise as a family program. Work with your child. If your child's with you, we would love to have parents and children working together. If not, it's okay. We're happy to have you all here part of it. We're going to be using a variety of evergreens. Many of you picked up kits from the library. A few of you chose not to, and that's okay. But we're going to use a variety of evergreens. So in your kit was a variety of things. And just a little education, an evergreen tree is a tree that keeps its leaves all year long. And even though they look like needles, those needles on the evergreens are actually leaves, as opposed to our deciduous trees or our trees that lose their leaves. Some of our evergreens, but not all of them, are what we call conifers or make cones. And so the most common thing we think about is our pine cones. So, you know, some of the types of greens that you got would have produced pine cones or cones, others may not have. In your supply kit, again, everybody should have their supply kit, or if you provided your own, your greens, your floral wire. We recommended some ribbon or other decorations. I will recommend a pair of scissors. If you haven't already grabbed a pair of scissors, grab a pair of scissors. Optional, a wire cutter, garden pruners, or pliers would be helpful as well, but not necessary. There's lots of different kinds of greens, and I'm not an expert on identifying the greens. I know most of the greens that I gave you, but white pine is a really common Christmas green. It looks very pretty in things. You know, here's a couple of the other types of greenery that I had provided for you. And I'm going to encourage you to use a mix. Use what you like, but use a mix of things. In some of your kits, you also got some holly, and there's a holly berry on the left, or holly flower, a berried holly on the left, and on the right is a winterberry holly, slightly different types of leaves. Again, they both produce that nice red color berry, as opposed to the mistletoe that has white berries or white buds. Couple quick Christmas tree facts, and again, I'm an educator, so I can't avoid giving you a few little facts. But 98% of the Christmas trees are produced actually on Christmas tree farms. In the United States, there's more than 350 million Christmas tree farms. So it's a big agricultural business. Pennsylvania is actually the 4th largest producer of Christmas trees in the United States. So just a little fun trivia facts. United States has 1,500 Christmas tree farms, and more than 1,000 people are employed in the industry. And Pennsylvania is the third largest number of Christmas trees farms in the United States. Again, sorry I'm talking so fast, but I do want to make sure we have time to produce or to do our decorations. we're going to get started. The first thing I want you to do, and you can think about it and you can change your mind as you're going, but we're going to get started. You're going to decide on a style, what you want your swag to look like. Here I have a couple that have greens on either end, and actually my ends of my greens are coming together in the center, and I'll show you this, but I wanted to show you a couple pictures so you have something as a reference. On the left, you have one that's hanging vertical. On the right would be one that would hang horizontally, if that's something that you're interested in. Again, both of those, I put the bows for the samples in the middle. You can see on the left, there's no added decorations besides the bow. On the right, I added some bunches, small bunches of ornaments. Again, you're going to decorate it as you like. In this particular option, they're more teardrop or oval type of shape, and I put the bows on the top on either of these. So I added pine cones and berries on the left. On the right, I have some ornaments. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to decide on a shape. So I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to come over to my workstation, and actually we're going to do it. I'm all about hands-on learning, and that's what 4-H is. 4-H is all about learning by doing or hands-on learning. So let's come over here. Hopefully you can see me. And on my table here, I have some of the tools and things that I suggested that you have, including a kit. This would have been a content of the kit. Everybody got a similar ribbon, but had to go with what I could get. There's some ornaments in the bag, and there's a bush, they call it, of some artificial greens or artificial decorations. Again, whether you choose to use this or not, that's totally up to you. You can choose to use your ornaments individually. You can choose not to use your ornaments, whatever you choose to do, but there's lots of different options for decorating. So I'm going to just move this so I can show you. And what you want to start by doing, again, is figure out what shape you like. And that might just be by trial and error. I should mention, and please feel free, if you have any questions as we're going along, Mark has you muted just so we don't get feedback, but feel free to open up your mics and ask a question, because we're going to learn from one another. Somebody else might be having the same question. So feel free to ask us the questions, and we'll be happy to answer as we go. So you want to take your greens out of your bag and figure out what shape you like, how you want to organize them. And so I'm just going to take my greens, and I'm going to choose to do one with a bow in the center. So I'm going to take my greens, take a piece and go one direction, and then take another piece and go the opposite direction, so that my cut ends, my raw ends here, end up in the middle, and they'll be hidden by my bow. Again, that's totally your choice. If you want to make one that was more teardrop, you're going to put all your cut ends towards the top. So you decide what looks best for you, what works for you. If you find that your greens are too big, like this happens to be a pretty big piece. I hope you can see that. It's a pretty decent sized piece. If I didn't want it to be quite this big, I could take my pruners or my sharp scissors and cut it down, make it a little bit smaller. So that's up to you how big you want it to be. What we're trying to do right now is create a size and a shape that's aesthetically pleasing to you, that's of interest to you. So again, I'm choosing on the samples, I'm going to make one, and I'm going to put my bow in the middle. So I'm going to have my tops of my greens going one direction. I'm going to take another piece of my greens and put my tops going the opposite direction. Hopefully you can see that.
I want to stop for a second. Folks, make sure that you're on speaker view so that you can see Toni's screen larger than everyone else. Okay.
And Mark, are you able to pin me? Are you able to spotlight me?
Yeah, you're in the middle of the screen, yeah.
Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure you can see, they can see me. That's great. Okay, so we want to have, you want to create a shape, again, however you like it. I did give everybody about between 5 and 7 branches of greens, depending on how big they were. So use what you like, make it look how you like. You don't have to use it all if you don't want. And I like to layer in my pieces. So I have a couple pieces that were the same type of greens, and so I layered them together, but now I'm going to take something different. This one happens to be a little bit smaller, a little more of a roughly looking green, and I'm going to put that in the middle to add some dimension add a little shape. And again, I'm gonna try to hold it up so you can see it. Again, it's all about you creating something that you like that's aesthetically pleasing to you. I'm gonna put some white pine in there, some long needle white pine. I just think that looks pretty. Add a little bit of that in there on either end. And once I've decided that I like the shape, then I'm ready to wire it together. Again, you guys should be creating something that looks good to you using what you have. You can always go back and add more if you decide you want to change it up, or if you have something in your own backyard that you're particularly have a preference for, you go ahead and add it. But right now I've gotten about 4 or 5 pieces of greenery here attached or overlapping. I haven't attached them yet. Once I sort of like the size and the shape, I'm going to take a piece of wire. Now, most of you got wire that came out of school, and I had to cut it up because they had limited supply. Oh, there we go. So we had to share the spool, but you should all have more than plenty. You want to take a piece of wire that's maybe 12 to 15 inches long, even 18 inches is fine. What we're doing is we're going to start to wrap it and coil all of our pieces together so that they'll stay together, because once we have a shape that we like, we don't want it to be falling apart. So again, it's no rush, take your time, but once you have a shape that you like, you want to take your wire, and in my case, because I overlapped and my centers is where my pieces are overlapping, I'm going to wire it around in the center area. Those of you that chose to do more the teardrop shape, so if all your ends are up here, if all your ends are at the top, so if this was your shape, you would want to put your wire around the top. What we're trying to do again is keep our design together in a manner that's aesthetically pleasing to us. Kids, if you're working with this with your parents, make sure you like what they're doing, make sure you like in the shape that they're doing. So again, I'm going to take my wire, and I like to start at the middle of the wire and go right through the middle of my greens, trying to catch all the pieces all at one time. Come back to the other side, and I'll take my pieces that came through, kind of twist those together so the first round or the first pass through is good and tight through. And then I'll take my extra pieces, my little loose ends. I hope you can see that on the camera. Take your little loose ends and you can wrap it back through, trying to make sure you caught everything. And just like you would use a twist tie or twist things together, you want to go ahead and twist that together so it stays together. If you have a lot left over, you're welcome to wrap it back through to the back. If you don't have a lot, that's okay. We can take another piece and add it back in. What you want to do is, sometimes one piece is enough, but quite often it's not. Quite often you'll need to take another piece of wire, and that's okay. Again, you're using that to try to keep your shape in place. And so in my case, I might add another little wire to keep a few of these other pieces from floating all over, because I have some big branches. I would put, in my case, I'm going to put another piece down here to keep it from wiggling. You have to look at what you have, make sure it feels good and steady, but just take another piece of wire if you need to. Again, and I'm just going to use, I have a small coil of wire, and I'm just going to cut another piece off. Again, if you don't have wire clippers, it's fine. It's fairly thin wire, fairly thin gauge wire, and so a pair of sharp scissors should work to go through it. I want to get it good and tight again, wrapping it through a couple times. And making sure that I either end up with my loose ends on the back, or that I make sure my loose ends are tucked in so that they're not, so that the wire doesn't come loose. You will have an opportunity if you need to add a little more, if you have extra greens and you all of a sudden have it wired together and you're like, No, I'm not quite sure if I like that. You can take it apart. You can always tuck other pieces in if you need to. Use another little piece of wire and wire it on so it's attached to the rest of your swag. If you need to add something more. So how's everyone doing? I'm just trying to see where everybody is. I don't want to rush anybody. I see some good looking things on the screen. Excellent. Very nice. Very nice. And again, the size and the shape is totally up to you. It has to be something that you're comfortable with and it's going to work at your house. In my house, mine's going to go get hung hung under a light switch outside of my garage door on the front of my house. So I'm sort of creating something that's that right size. If you want to put it on your front door, that's great. We have them. My husband made some and they're on all my windows on the front of my house. So again, whatever size and shape works for you. Mine, for those of you that are trying to figure it out and follow along, I got a ruler just so you can see. Mine is about 3 feet from the very tip, from one end to the other end. So the full length is about 3 feet or a yard. Again, you need to know where you're putting it in your house. You want to think about where you're going to put it so you can decide how big you would like it to be. I know a few of the sample photos that I showed you, those were closer to 22 or 24 inches. And that, again, the goal was to make something that fit the space where I wanted to put it. I see a lot of great work. I just want to make sure if anybody has any questions before we move on. You're looking great. Your projects are looking great. Let me just check. I see there's a couple things in chat I just want to know. There's a comment in chat, and I don't know if everybody's seen it or if everybody's having similar problems. Somebody commented that they can only see my image on a small square. If you do click on the top box, there's 3 little dots next to your box where your picture is. If you click on that, you can pin it, or you can also change the view, and that would allow you to see me in a larger screen. So if you click on the speaker view, that will make me big and all the other squares should become smaller. So if you need to be able to see me, go ahead and try that. Is everybody doing okay? Should I move on, or do you want a little more time to put this together? I see some really good work happening out there. You should have plenty of wire. Please make sure that when you're putting it together, once you have a shape that you like, that you've wired it in a couple spots just so it doesn't fall apart on you.
There's a question that came in on the chat, Toni. How do you make a hook in the back to hang the swag?
Well, that's going to be the next step. That's an excellent question. That's the next step. So I think many of you are ready for that step. So what I'd like you to do is cut another piece of wire. Again, at least 12 inches, somewhere between 12 and 18 inches should work. So you have a little piece of wire. Again, this is hard to see because of the lighting, but I have a piece that's about maybe 13 or 14 inches long. And what you're going to do is you're going to turn over your wreath, or turn over your swag, I'm sorry, and you're going to decide how you want to hang it. Again, you should have already decided that, but if it's going horizontal, you're going to put your hanger in the middle. If it's going vertical, you're going to put your hanger more towards the top. So in mine, it's going to go horizontal or across. And so what I'm going to do is turn my swag upside down, and I'm going to go back through the middle, and I'm going to loop my wire. Now, in this case, you don't have to loop it through everything. I'm going to loop mine just through the couple greens that are more towards the back, and just try to loop my wire through. So now I have the ends on either end. Hopefully you can see that. So we're going to do that. And then I'm going to overlap them. Like I'm going to start to tie my shoe, but I'm not going to tie my shoe. So I'm going to just do a crisscross. Let me do it. Let me do it with this pipe cleaner because it's a little thicker. You can hopefully see it. Okay, so you're going to loop it through, and you're going to I'm going to do it with a pipe cleaner. Hopefully you can see that better on the camera. Okay, so now I have my wire through the back of my swag. I'm going to take it, and I'm just going to do a crisscross, and then I'm going to turn my end of my wire and wrap it around itself a couple times to make a little loop. And I'm going to do the same thing from the opposite on the other side. So now I have a hook that's in there, that's hopefully in there tight. You can also twist it if it's a little too long. You can also twist it to make it more secure, closer to your greens. So now I have, and again, mine's out of a pipe cleaner just because it's hopefully a little easier to see. Still not easy to see. Let's see if I can put something behind it. Sorry about that. I don't know if this helps. If you can, not really. If you can see that now I have a hanger. Again, I just have the white paper so you can hopefully see it, but I just made a little loop by twisting it around my greens and hooking it so it's secure. If it seems too long, go ahead and twist it down closer, twist it down on either end. You can twist it on the bottom as well as twist it a little bit more on the top to make it a little bit tighter. Again, and that will depend on how you want to hang it. If you're using a wreath hanger to hang it, it typically has a bigger hook. If you're putting it on a nail, you might need a slightly smaller loop to be hanging it from. So again, you're just using that wire to create a little loop on the back side. It is adjustable. You have plenty of wire if you find that when you actually take it to your door to hang it or your window to hang it, if you need a little more, go ahead and add a little more. But basically you just created your own little loop by folding or interlocking the wire around itself so that hopefully, it won't come untwisted. How are we? Give everybody a few minutes to work. I see Linda's looks good from what I can see on hers. That looks really good. Let me see. Very nice. I see people testing them out, make sure their hangers are good and tight on there. That's a good thing to do. Again, you're doing some lovely work. We wouldn't want it to fall apart. So definitely test it out. Again, you should have plenty of wire if you need to rewrap and wrap it a little bit more. The wire will get hidden, or hopefully it's going to be hidden. We're going to put some bow and some other decorations on there that will help conceal. Again, you all have speaker privileges. If you'd like to unmute yourself, if you have any questions, feel free to.
Is it possible to have too much wire?
Too much wire on it? Is it sticking out?
Yeah.
So the best thing to do is either try to rewrap it in, if you can wrap it around some of the greens so it's hidden on the back, or go ahead and cut it off and then tuck in your loose ends. The big thing is you just want it to be secure. So we gave you enough so that you would have enough to keep it secure. But yeah, if you think you cut too much, go ahead and feel free to cut it down a little bit. The purpose of the wire is really just to keep it together. I know I see many people have theirs created. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a bow. I see a few of you already have made bows or know how to make bows. For those of you that don't, let me show you how to make a bow. There's lots of varieties out there, but I'm going to show you how to make a 6-loop. I always call it a florist bow. I don't know if there's a technical name beyond that, but I like to make a 6-loop bow. And that's going to take between 8 and 9 feet of ribbon. And I did give everybody 9 feet of ribbon if you picked up one of our kits. So let me grab mine and I'll show you how to make that. Okay, and hopefully you can see that. And so what you want to do if you haven't made a bow, or if you want to learn how to make this new type or different type of bow, I start by pulling about 15 to 18 inches out of my spool. Okay, doesn't have to be exact, but then what I do is I take it about the 15 or 18 inch mark and I fold down my ribbon about 6 inches. So I have a loop that's about 6 inches, about 12 inches total, but about 6 inches on either end. And then I like to pinch it together. Now I'm going to take my ribbon and do the same thing on the opposite side. Make another loop that's about 6 inches on either side, or about 12 inches total, and pinch it together. Now I'm pinching. Now I have a loop. I have a long tail and 2 loops on either side. And I'm going to repeat those steps until I end up with six total loops. So 3 loops on each side. So I'll take another loop, gather together between my thumb and my forefinger, and do it and loop it in again. Okay, so now I have four loops, and I'll do it a 5th time. I mean, a 5th and a 6th time. There's 5, there's 6. Now, some of you will have a little more tail depending on how much or how big you made each of your loops. Some people like to have a little center loop. So there's 6 big loops and a small center loop. So if you want to put a small center loop there, you can do that just by simply twisting in a small loop in the center. Again, it's not necessary. It's totally up to you. If you want a 6 loop or a 6 loop with that little center loop in there, that's fine. And again, you're going to want to make it, fix the shape, play with it a little bit. I gave everybody wired ribbon, which is wonderful. It's wonderfully forgiving. So if it gets smushed or you don't quite like the shape, you can twist it back and get it back in the shape that you like. So once I have my bow in a shape that I like, I'm going to take another piece of wire, and I'm going to use I'm using a long twist tie, just hopefully so you can see it. You're going to use just your regular wire, and you're going to go through your loops, through all your center here, and twist it closed on the back. And again, you're going to just do it with your regular wire. And you'll end up with something along this lines. And again, you can, because it's wired ribbon, you can kind of fluff it however you like. Your tails might be going.
Someone would like to see you make the bow again, Toni.
Absolutely. Let me take this. Let me just grab another color ribbon. I'm going to grab another one so you can see it. Oh, that one doesn't going to show up on camera. I just want to make sure you can see it. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to pull, like I said, 12, 15 inches out of the spool. And I'm going to take and make a loop. And my first loop, in my case, because I want my bow, again, my bow that I'm looking for is going to be about this big, which is about 12 inches across. If you want a smaller bow, you can certainly make your loop smaller. But in order to make something about this size, you're going to want, and just to give you a perspective of what that size bow looks like on the swag that I made. Hopefully that gives you a size perspective. So if you're trying to decide what you want, not the red, the gold and the green. Okay. So that's it's about 11 to 12 inches across. And then again, in my case, I have some tails, and I'll show you what I'll do with my tails in a minute. But let me show you again how to make the bow. So start by pulling 12 or 15 inches out of your spool. Make a loop that's about 6 inches on either side. So totally of 12 inches total. What that does is that leaves me about 7 or 8 inches loose hanging down. I make my first loop and I pinch it in the middle. Then I take my loop, my wired ribbon is now hanging down. I'm going to take that and make a loop up. That's again, it's about 6 inches of ribbon on either side to make my loop, or 12 inches total. Pinch it in the middle. So I'm pinching all my pieces to keep all my pieces of wire or my ribbon together in the center. And then I'm just going to repeat till I end up with 6 total loops. So 3 on each side. Pinching it in the middle. I know some people that like to twist it when they pinch it. Because the wired ribbon has a nice consistency, usually if I just pinch it in the middle, it's enough to keep it together. If I was working with a heavy ribbon or a ribbon that didn't have wire in it, I would maybe be a little more concerned about how I'm pinching it or keeping it in the center. In this case, again, we're just trying to create our loops, get our ribbon all gathered together in the center. So in this case, I have 6 loops, 3 on each side. They're all pinched together in the center. And in this one, I'm not going to make that little 7th little small loop in the middle. I'm going to just leave my tails long. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this ribbon, this long part of the ribbon, and tuck it back up. So I'm going to actually end up with 4 tails on this particular one. And the reason I'm going to have the way I'm going to have 4 is I have my 2 regular ends, and then I'm going to cut this long piece in the middle, and it's going to give me an extra set of tails that I can use as part of my decoration. Let me just get a wire on this and tie this together for you to show you. Twist it all together. Now, in this case, my ribbon just came off the spool, as would most of yours would have been coming off a spool. There might be a little piece of tape or a little bit of jagged end there. You would want to take your sharp scissors and cut it. And you can cut it one of 2 ways, or you can cut it however you like. But I'm typically a fan of cutting mine on an angle, and this is still hard to see because of the color, but let's try this. No, not much better, but I like to cut mine just on a straight diagonal. You also could fold your ribbon together. Fold your 2 ends. In this case, your 2 outside ends, fold them together. And take your scissors and cut this on an angle. And that's a very sloppy cut, but it gives you a different kind of finish, different kind of angle on the bottom of your ribbon. So again, whichever you prefer, And you just want to play with your ribbon. Again, get it to look how you would like it to look. And once you're ready, you're going to go ahead and add that to your swag. Again, in my case, because I decided I was going to put my bow in the center, I'm going to just go ahead and either you should have some ends left from tying your ribbon, but if you don't, we can always add another piece of ribbon in. But again, you're just going to wrap it around and twist it together so that your ribbon is now attached, isn't going to come out, and it's attached to your swag. Again, you can still play with your ribbon if you don't like it. You can, fix your bows however you would like to make them look. And now the rest is up to you in terms of how you want to decorate. Again, my samples, you saw that I had added some fake berries. And again, we gave you fake berries because I could get them and they would hold up. I didn't have enough fresh holly to give everybody, but you can go ahead if you're using, this is your decoration, you can just cut the berries using your wire cutters or again, your sharp scissors and just cut them off from the bush. And then this, you have your berry or your decoration you choose to use on a stick. I do like to make sure that these are either wired in or nicely twisted in. The stick is a wire, so if you want to twist it and actually try to twist that around, you can do that. Or if you want to use another piece of the thin floral wire, a lot of times I'll just tuck this in and then use a small piece of floral wire to attach it so it doesn't fall, so it doesn't come out. Again, you want to make sure that you're not using too big a piece of floral wire and any extra wire is in the back or that you cut it off. So you can wire a few pieces in. Again, go ahead and add your berries or whatever it is that you want to add to your centerpiece. You all were given some ornaments. If you want to take the ornaments, I've done it a couple different ways. I think everybody got 6 or 8 ornaments. So on this example, I took 3 ornaments and a piece of wire and wired them all together. So now they're together as a little bunch, almost like a little bunch of berries or bunch of ornaments in this case. And so I could tuck those in, again, using a little bit of wire, either the wire that you wired them with or other wire if you need to, wire them in so that they stay in and are part of your decoration if that's what you like. If you want to use fresh pine cones, some of you had fresh pine cones added to your bag. I don't know that I had enough for everybody, but on your bush, there are some artificial ones already on sticks, so you can use those and tuck them in. If you want to use loose ornaments, you can take individual loose ornaments and place them in wherever you'd like. Again, use a small piece of wire. And if you're just individually adding them in, 6 or 8 inches is plenty of wire to cut and use them to wire them in, to attach your ornaments however you would like your ornament attached.
Toni,
yes.
Someone has asked, can you add your decorations prior to adding your bow?
Yes. Yes, if you'd like to do that, you can add them. You can add your decorations whenever you want. The thing to keep in mind, if you're adding your decorations first, just think about how big your bow is, make sure everything's going to kind of all fit. But certainly put things, the order that you do it is totally up to you. And it's all about making something that's pleasing to you, that you're going to enjoy and can be proud of. See, people's projects that I can see are looking really nice. Bridget, that looks very nice. I like your bow. Excellent. And Bridget crumpled up hers. She used the wire. I'm sorry, say that again.
I said it teaches you how to laugh at yourself.
Yeah, it's a learning process. And some of us are great first time out of the gate, and other times we have to redo it, but that's okay. That's part of life.
It's fun no matter what.
Absolutely. If we were all together in a room, we'd be laughing at each other and helping each other. We have to support one another on Zoom. It's a little different year, a little different way of doing it, but what I'm seeing looks really nice. If you don't want the big floral bow, if you don't want the big 6-loop bow, certainly feel free to cut a shorter piece. I had a couple short pieces left from another project. So this is only about close to a yard, maybe 2.5 to 3 feet long. And I could just use this and make just a regular smaller bow, and I would just gather it, overlap it, and again, pinch it in the middle and use either a piece of wire, pipe cleaner or something to make a small bow, and again, attach it on to your wreath. So it doesn't have to have a big fancy bow. It can have short tails, it can have long tails, it can be a small little bow if that's what you like. And if you wanted to use thinner ribbon, you can do that as well. And the look and the amount of ribbon that you would need would kind of vary based on how thick the ribbon is. This ribbon that I gave everybody in their kits was, I think, 2.5 inches wide. And so that makes a nice wreath or swag type of ribbon, but thinner ribbon would certainly work. And so you would need to adjust how many loops you want or how big you want your bow to be based on the look that you're going for. Other questions? What I'm seeing look really great. Jane, that looks very nice. Jane, where are you going to put yours? Oh, you're muted, Jane.
I'm going to put it on a windowsill.
Beautiful. Very
Thank you,
nice.
Toni. This has just been wonderful fun.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. I do want to mention, and I'm happy to stay on for a while. I'm here to support everybody. I did want to thank again the Communities That Care Board and Dolores Winston for making arrangements to fund the supplies that were in your supply kit. We really appreciate that. And the Communities That Care Board. Thank you to those on the gardening committee that made this part of the program, part of their series. So we're excited to do that. I also want to let people know, and I'll put the slide up in just a minute, how to find us, how to find me if you want any other 4-H programs, or if you're interested in any of our Penn State Extension programs. So I'm going to go ahead and share that screen just in case anybody's looking for it. Again, there's no rush. Everybody's at a different place, and I certainly understand that. Whoops, maybe.
There's a question, Toni, how do you keep the greens fresh?
You can, if you're going outside, they should last pretty well in the cool climate. You can spritz them with a little bit of water. Typically it's not necessary, but they are fresh, and so they will eventually start to drop. Typically I find that mine last, 4 or 5 weeks without a problem. Certainly the temperature will dictate that. If it gets too warm or if it's in a really sunny location, they will start to drop a little bit sooner. But our goal was to do it now so they would last through the new year. And I'm fairly confident based on past experiences that they should. I see that my screen share didn't work. So I did put on the screen, hopefully you can see that, how to find more information on Penn State Extension, as well as the Pennsylvania 4-H program, or to find me here in Chester County. So again, I'm not rushing anybody, but sometimes we get that question. We want to make sure that we're here. Penn State Extension is continue to work remote. However, we're working every day. We're available every day to serve the clients and people across the Commonwealth. So please reach out if you have any interest in either youth programs or any of our adult programs through the Penn State Extension. And I did put the links on the screen for how to find upcoming Penn State Extension and Penn State 4-H programs.
Thank you so much, Toni. And as
welcome.
someone has commented, this was fun and festive.
That's my pleasure, and it is. It's a fun and festive thing. Watch for it in person. Hopefully in 2021 we can do it in person, and we do like to do it as a family activity, parents and child working together, and we bring lots of good things and just have a good time laughing and socializing when we make them.
And because Mark recorded it, we can call it up on the library YouTube and share it.
That's right. And learn how to make it all over
Right,
again.
yeah.
That's right.
I see Beth holding hers up. It looks beautiful, what I can see. Very nice.
I want to
Excellent.
see that.
Excellent. I'm just looking to see who I can see.
Lots of thank yous coming in. That's great. Thank you, folks.
Thank you. And thanks to the library for doing this series.
Oh, happy to support it, happy to facilitate. And a reminder that the next one will be the end of January, Monday, January 25th at 7 o'clock. Naomi Kumano is the speaker, and Eating from Your Harvest is the title of her presentation. More information on that to come.
Great. Thank you.
These
And
are all-
I'll hang on. Gail, I see yours looks beautiful. I like it. Teardrop shape. And Linda, I see yours. Very nice. Dolly, how are you making out over there? Very nice. Good job. Dolores is the one that made the arrangements to pay for all the kits, so we appreciate her support. And Jane's been on the planning committee. Maria, yours looks beautiful. I like it. Very nice. Maria put her ornaments in the middle, which I really like. I like how you added those in the center. Linda, how are you making out with yours? Linda Bender, I see yours is looking nice. Very nice.
Beautiful.
How about
Very nice. I'm
mine?
trying to see.
Nice. Beautiful.
Oh, I like it.
When they fix your wire, they get really far there.
Very nice. I hope everybody's inspired. Now, if you have a few extra greens or if you want to go out in your yard and cut some more, make some other decorations.
Yep,
You've really done a nice job.
I think I will.
Oh, Lori, I see yours. It's nice. Very nice.
So this is called Floral Wire.
It is. I gave you floral wire. Wire this year was a little bit hard to find because I guess it was a pandemic issue. I don't know. I was able to get some at Dollar Tree. Typically, you can buy it at any of the arts and crafts stores. Sometimes it comes in a little paddle like this. Sometimes it comes in a spool. And then they also do sell long pieces that are pre-cut. And I think they're pre-cut at about 15 or 18 inches. So there's a lot of ways to buy it. It's not a very expensive item. Again, this year, for some reason, the arts and crafts stores just were all sold out. So
You can't buy like packages of stuff. They package things in smaller bags.
I only heard part of that. Somebody was making a suggestion. I didn't hear it all. I'm sorry. Other substitutions, if you aren't able to find the floral wire, is any thin gauge wire. So a thin wire, like a picture hanging wire would work. The goal is just not to have anything that's too thick, that's too hard to work with. You saw that I twisted everything with my hands. If you would need to use a pliers and needle nose pliers would work for twisting it, but I wanted to make sure it was something that we could work with our hands without being too difficult. Pipe cleaners would work. I had a couple long twist ties that I had saved because of the color, they would show a little better on the screen. Any of those things would work. And I think even in worst case scenario, you could use twine to tie things together. The twine would just be a little more difficult to hide so that you don't see the wire, so you wouldn't see it sticking out of your arrangement. So there are some other substitutions, but just a thin gauge wire works well for keeping all the pieces together.
And the supplies you put together were great. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
And was it the Penn State Extension Center that funded the supplies?
The supplies were actually funded through the Phoenixville Communities That Care Board, and they provided, it would have been normally been part of their monthly family night out program. And so they decided in December, since we couldn't be out, we would be in on Zoom, and they were able to fund the supplies. And then the greens were supplied through a variety of 4-H contacts, through a variety of Penn State 4-H contacts.
Okay, thank you again.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Does anybody have any questions? I don't want to rush anybody. I want to make sure everybody had an opportunity to finish their project. That is all I brought that I am prepared to teach you. I can certainly answer any questions that you might have.
Now, my finished product is already out on my front porch.
Oh, wonderful. I'm happy to hear that. And Jane, I think you were talking, but you were muted.
Yeah.
I looked like
Are
you were
the
talking.
4-H clubs meeting virtually now?
Yes, they are. So in Chester County, we have 30 clubs and about 3/4 of them are meeting virtually. A few of them did get safety plans approved to have an occasional in-person meeting, but generally speaking, we've been meeting virtually since March.
Is there one in Phoenixville?
There is, and unfortunately, that's one of the ones that is not meeting. We have a sewing club that meets at the Civic Center in Phoenixville. And when the Civic Center shut down, and then when I was sent to work from home, that club was suspended temporarily. We've invited the children to participate in some of our virtual programs, but the club as a whole has not been able to meet. And that's a technology issue between the leader not having access, and many of the children don't have access to their own sewing machines. They use our 4-H sewing machine. So without access to the building, they have not been meeting.
Yeah.
We do continue to invite them, and a few of the children that are in that club have joined some of our virtual programs. We're also working to try to set up some other programs. 4-H is a volunteer-led organization, and so we're always looking for volunteers to expand the opportunities, what we can offer to the kids in the communities. And so certainly would love to see more happening in Phoenixville. We're hopeful to get a gardening program up at Steeltown Village. And I just spoke with the children's librarian there in Phoenixville about maybe doing some short-term programs, virtual programs out of the library. So always looking to offer more for the kids, but the pandemic certainly has, challenged that and the need for volunteers. So we always are welcoming new people that want to share a skill, whether it be ongoing as a club leader, or if they want to just share something that they have a passion about in a short-term capacity. We can certainly do some short-term programs and make those educational opportunities available for the children.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I think I'm going to take mine and install it also. So
Wonderful.
thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us, Jane.
Oh, sure.
And again, I'm not going to throw anybody off. I just want to make sure I'm here to support you. But if you're done, please feel free to log off. Have a very wonderful holiday season. It was nice to talk to you briefly and see your great work.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed the activity.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Happy holidays, everyone.
You too. Happy holidays.
Best in holidays. Thank you.
Tony,
Thank you.
Yes,
you send me the bill.
I will.
All right.
I trust you. I will.
Okay, talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Thank you.
All right, see you,
Good
Mark.
holidays, everyone. Thank you,
Bye, Rob.
Doris. Good holidays, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Yep. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.